All right, so let's recap. I removed the hood, I removed the shroud, I had to remove my exhaust tip. Thanks, Ross. All right, welcome to new and returning subscribers. I picked up about 100 new subscribers since my last video. If this is your first time here, my name is James and this is Killing It Country. I live on about 50 acres of property. We have a 2016 Kubota BX 25D, a 2021 Kubota KX 040, and today's video is a maintenance video. I have just about 600 hours on that machine. It's time for oil and filter, hydraulic oil filter, those two fuel filters, one of which is kind of awkward to get to, and the air filter. I do have some maintenance coming up on the KX 040 as well, but today's video is all about the BX. So if that's what you're here for, stick around, let's do it. All right, so I got the garage cleaned out a little bit, ready to go here. This is the tractor, as I said, 2016 Kubota BX 25D. It's basically your stock tractor with the exception of a couple of things that I've done differently. So for the front, I do have the HLA forks. I have a like a 5-foot plow, manual angling plow that can quick attach to this loader as well. I have the front mount BX 2755 HD front mount snowblower. Back here, the backhoe, I don't really use that very much anymore because I have that over there. What I did add to this is a set of rear remotes. Yes, these rear remotes will work when the backhoe is connected. Right now, everything works together at the same time, no problem. I can link the video to that. It's a video that people tend to be quite interested on, and they ask a lot of questions. The only other thing I've done really differently to this is I added that hitch down there. It's not perfect, it is kind of low, but you know what? It lets me tow with the backhoe on, and that's all I really care about. So we're gonna let this thing warm up in a couple of minutes. Let's head into the garage and check out the parts. I did buy a big jug of 15W40. It's enough to do the BX and the KX. This is the air filter for the BX. That's the hydraulic oil filter. That's the engine oil filter. And these are the two filters that go in line for the diesel. If anybody watching this video is looking to find themselves a good dealer, this is my dealer, Stewart's Equipment. I did ask these guys if they were interested in doing this video as a partnership and maybe getting a bit of a break on the supplies. Now, I don't know if they are just so busy that they can't even think of anything like that, or maybe they just don't want to deal with a Small Potatoes YouTube channel. Either way, it's totally fine. I get it. They're good folks at Stewart's Equipment. So if any of you guys need, you know, Kubota or Stihl, or I think they even deal in Cub Cadet and a few other brands as well, check them out. They're in Erin, Ontario. Well, I mean, why lay down? May as well get things up a little higher where it's easier. Maybe it'll end up being the wrong thing to do, but we're gonna find out together. right, so the first thing I have to do, and you guys won't have to worry about this because your hood's probably not bent to hell like mine is, I need to get this ratchet strap off. I'm gonna get this shroud off. It's plastic, so be careful. I think just to make my life a little easier, I'm just gonna remove those 4 screws, and I'm gonna remove the whole hood as well as that little pneumatic ram assembly. The problem I'm seeing right now is my good friend Ross over at Ross on the Land made me this extended exhaust tip, but I'm finding that it sticks out a little more, which was the whole point of the exhaust tip, to try to eliminate this. But it's just making it a little problematic for me to get that plastic shroud off. So let's pop that hood off. You end up having to remove the light bulbs from the back of these sockets, from the back of the headlights. Make sure they're well out of the way. That should just lift right off. That's it, just those 4 studs that stick up out of that plate. 4 half-inch nuts to come off. Let's see if we can get this shroud off now. How much did you have to remove? Oh, just the tip. Now, I probably didn't have to remove the hood, but you know what? It lets the light come in here so I can see. It lets you get access. It's nice for you guys to see what's going on in here. So this is going to be our air filter housing. That's going to be the secondary fuel filter. The first inline fuel filter is underneath the tractor, kind of back here, just forward of between those rear wheels. Let's see, oil filters on that side, last done at 400 hours. And the hydraulic filter is going to be right there. So I think we'll tackle the front of the tractor first. Let's get that oil draining. And because I've done this before, oil drain plug 14 millimeter. Nobody likes to fight. All right, I've got my my oil pan here. You know what? I'm gonna put some rubber gloves on right now. That's better. I'm gonna rinse the, sorry, not rinse, I'll wipe the oil off this plug and put it somewhere where I'm not gonna lose it. Now I'll go up and I'll pull the dipstick to break the vacuum. It'll help that oil drain a little nicer. So I've still got the crush washer on here. Ideally, you would put a new crush washer on, but I'm really not concerned. I'm sure there's also a torque specification to go with this, because you do not want to strip the threads out of the bottom of your oil pan. That would be a disaster. I just go like that. Good enough. As I have said in many maintenance videos, nobody is going to the moon as a result of today's video. This is not that complicated. So the next thing is to get this filter out of here. I tend to complain a lot about the way these manufacturers position these filters. Not only does it make it difficult to thread the replacement filter onto this machine with oil in it to make sure that you get oil pressure and, you know, full hydrodynamic lubrication and all those kinds of things as soon as possible after you start the engine. When you take the dirty one off, it leaks everywhere and drives me crazy. So I had a viewer on one of my John Deere oil change videos tell me that I could slide this handy pie plate right under here and it would capture a lot of the oil and stop it from making a hell of a mess. I've done it before and it worked good. Let's do it here too. For years I used to make fun of my mom for keeping these pie plates. Who's laughing now, eh, Ma? We could even make it so it dumps down off the side there and I can move that tray back to the underside of this pie plate. Let's do that. That should catch it. Let's grab a filter wrench. So this is the filter wrench I use. I think they're great. They're adjustable, they bite right on, no messing around. Let's test that theory, shall we? Oh, come on. That's a thing of beauty right there. Kubota, you know I like your equipment, but how about we change this? I do like that idea. That is such a good idea. That guy gets a viewer of the year. So here's the oil filter. Hopefully you can see that. I'm not one of these guys that can rub the clean filter against the dirty filter. I just find that completely sacrilegious. So I'm gonna open up the new jug of oil and take a little bit. I might put maybe 1/3 to a half to fill this up a little bit, and then we'll wet that gasket ready to go so it seats nice against the block on that motor. Just hit that really hard and drive this plastic material right down into the container so that it can accidentally be dumped into the sump. I'm just kidding, don't do that. This will be an absolute disaster. It's all good. In case you were wondering, I did move my oil drain pan to right below me here to catch all the drips. All right. We're gonna lose a little bit. Oh, you know what? Before I get too carried away, I'm going to just wipe the side of the block. So, as with most things in life, there's a reason why we do things. The reason why we put oil on the gasket is because when you're threading this onto the side of the block, and you start to feel resistance, you want that resistance to be as a result of the gasket squeezing against the block and not a function of the friction you're feeling as you drag that gasket sideways along the block, if that makes any sense. You want to feel the compression of that gasket between the filter housing and the block and not the drag of the rubber as you're twisting this on. And hand tight should be all that's necessary, in my opinion, but that's something you can check when you start the machine, make sure it's not leaking, right? So we can go ahead and get that pie plate out of there and wipe up any oil that's left over. You know what I notice in here right now, and this is another good reason for maintenance, my coolant level is low. This machine's been warmed up a little bit, so it should be up around the high level mark, I would think, and it's actually just above where that rubber hose goes on the fitting at the bottom of that tank, so I will have to purchase some coolant at some point and top this up. So now we're going to top this thing up with oil. I've got the drain plug back in the bottom of the oil pan, and I've got the filter back on. I do like to wipe off the top of this engine anytime I'm opening something up that's going to be exposing the inside of the engine to the elements. It's always nice to make sure that it's clean. Go find myself an appropriate funnel. Fit. Oh yeah. So this funnel's probably overkill, but I like using the bigger funnels because it's easier to clean. I can get right down inside the spout and wipe that out to make sure that you know, when you pour oil through it, it's not going to be carrying contaminants down to the inside of the engine. You know, I always worry about that when I'm using smaller funnels. So we'll get this thing wiped out. Put some oil back in this thing. Off the top of my head, I'm not 100% sure how much oil this thing takes because that's what dipsticks are for. I'm the dipstick that puts the oil in, and the dipstick tells the dipstick when it's enough. Get yourself a rag right here, you know, so when you're filling, when it's done, you can lay it over here and get it out of the way, kind of thing. I try to be as clean as I can when I'm doing this. Oil everywhere, it drives me crazy. Now that I've said that, you can watch me dump oil everywhere. Oh, not so bad. This jug's pretty heavy though. Always nice to get the oil changes done. Especially in the shoulder seasons, because once it gets nice around here, it's going to be busy. We've got lots of projects planned, so if you haven't subscribed and you're interested in what's going to be going on around here, it might be a good time to jump on board. Alright, let's check the dipstick. If you're wondering what all the honking is back there, I just put the summer tires on my dad's truck, and he's programming all of the sensors in the tires that tell him when he has low pressure. Apparently that involves a lot of horn. So there's your operating range on the dipstick. I don't know if you can see that, those two drilled holes. If I'm not correct, I'm sure somebody will correct me, but I've been running this machine for 600 hours, and that's how I have interpreted this dipstick. So let's see how much oil we have in the sump at the moment. Right up there, just below that upper hole. So I am going to leave it there for the time being. When all is said and done, we get this tractor back on the ground, I'll start it up, and we'll lose a little bit to the oil filter, but we can top it back up at that time if I think it's necessary. And put the cap back on to keep the contaminants out. Dad was just saying that it's a dinky little alternator on this thing, and that makes me think of the charging system and the electronics on this thing. This tractor is 7 years old, and I have never put a battery in it, and it has not once hesitated in any of the Canadian winters we've had to start. So that's a testament to probably the charging system and the battery and the maintenance. I don't know, everything all together, but yeah, I have never had to do anything to it. Now that machine, on the other hand, the 2021 KX040, that thing needs a battery right now. I'm not impressed at all with the battery that came with that machine. So I'm gonna set up to change this air filter, I guess. I'm gonna get my vacuum ready, because anything that becomes loose in the process of me opening up that filter housing, I want to suck that out to make sure that it doesn't make its way down this pipe and into the intake. All right. It's been a while since I've changed this filter. I wonder what I'm going to find in here. Nice and clean there. Not too bad, actually. I mean, unless these filters are white from the factory, then yeah, maybe it's dirty. But I thought that would be much dirtier. I'm going to grab a light and have a look inside. Nice and clean anyways. I'm just going to wipe that out with a cloth and put the new one in there. I suppose I could have found a cleaner rag for that job, but this will do. Let's crack that box open. Oh yeah. Guys, they're supposed to be white. There's the old one, there's the new one. If you guys don't have the app from Kubota, I think it's actually called My Kubota. It's pretty awesome. Lets you add your machine by serial number and input all of the maintenance you've done. You can access all of the maintenance service interval information, part numbers, all sorts of good stuff in there, manuals. So if you don't have that, you should download it. If I don't end up writing the hours physically on the filters, I'll know that I will at least have that information in the app, and I can sign in with my username and password and get any of that information I need whenever I want. Oh, score. You'll notice on the cover that it's telling you which way's up. It's always helpful. It's like it's a Jeep thing. Ta-da! All right, we're gonna tackle these things now. These are, of course, the inline diesel oil filters for these for this tractor. Here's what I'm gonna do. Whoops, too many wrenches, not enough drawers. Those are pliers, not wrenches. I know. Okay, here's what I'm gonna do. So up here, and I'll let you orient yourself, there's the back wheels. This is the first fuel filter that needs to be changed. This is a 12-volt fuel pump. You do not need to worry about priming this system manually before the high-pressure fuel injection pump on the machine, because this is going to prime it for you as soon as you turn the key on. This is what you're hearing when you turn the key on these machines. Back behind this primary filter, I'm gonna pinch that line off with a set of needle nose vice grips. Now, I'm not talking about pinching this thing so hard that you're splitting the rubber. I'm talking about setting these loose so that when you squeeze them onto that rubber line, you're just simulating your fingers. Even if I can stop 98% of the fuel from coming out of that line, great. And for me today, I've purposely left this machine with like 1/8 of a tank of fuel just to reduce the head pressure that's gonna be realized on these lines. So we'll try to loosen some stuff off here and give ourselves a little more room and change that out. Actually, on second thought, I'm gonna drop that bolt. I'm gonna drop the bolt on the other side that's in the same position. I'm gonna swing this down out of the way just to give myself a little more space. So there's gonna be two kinds of people watching this video. The kind of people that are subscribed to the channel and like to watch because you like to watch, and the kind of people that are subscribed to the channel because you like the maintenance. Maybe you didn't even subscribe, and that's okay too. But for those of you that do watch most of what I put up and you're wondering where I've been for the last couple of months, oh, I find myself turning into a fair weather YouTuber, if that makes any sense. It hasn't been a really nice winter here. And we spent most of March in Florida. We pulled the kids out of school after March break and took them to Disney. And then rented a house, sat in the sun, drank some beer, had some laughs, and watched the snow melt on my security cameras over the internet, which was amazing. So, looking forward to getting back to work here, but that's where I've been. Oh man, I should have switched to the ratcheting wrench 5 minutes ago. But I'm stubborn. There. That's all that's required. I always laugh because everybody on the internet says they can never find their 10 mil. And today that's me. Holy overkill, 1/2-inch drive and an impact socket was the first thing I could get my hands on, so it'll do the trick. Alright. So that's loose. I don't think we need to take that right off. You can just leave that loose. Now I'm going to go get myself a pair of pliers because there's some spring-loaded hose clamps here, one on each side. We'll loosen them, slide them away from the filter, and release them in a position that allows us to get to them easily in order to put them back on. If you're looking to see how far you need to move these clamps away from the filter, you can always look at the new one and you can see how far the nipple sticks out on the end. So let's get those freed up. Now those have been on there for a while, so I'd have to get creative. I might like to pinch that off on that side too. I wonder if I have another pair of those. Well, this is the other lightest pair of vice grips I have. Every little bit helps, right? I think I'm gonna find a small screwdriver to try to pry that off. Pull backwards on this hose a little bit and just pry away. This is a good time for you to put your safety glasses on because you will get a little bit of fuel. There you go. Not much though, right? Not much at all. Now that's the discharge side of this filter, so you're not seeing tank pressure because I've got the hose, and when I say tank pressure, I mean head pressure from the tank. You're not seeing that because I've got that pinched off. So what I can do right now is I can install the new filter on the end of this just to capture any other little dribbles that might come out of that hose. And you go on YouTube and watch some of the other people do this job and see how much fuel they lose. It's like, holy moly, bud. There are other ways. However, he got the job done. No problem. So you want to leave these clips in a position that allows you to get to them again for the next time. So I'll try to break the bond between the rubber and the plastic with this one too. And then that should make it easier. There we go. Now we can put the filter back in here. Push the filter back through the round clamp and feed the hose back onto the inlet side. All right. Now we can release, or not release, but we can put these clamps back into the right position. On the other side, always a little tricky. It's always tough to get them to sit nice and square. There we go. Very happy with that. Get these off. Grab our 10 mil impact socket. Tighten that back up. There you go, folks. That's the hardest part of this whole job, is that filter right there. And I don't think anybody would argue that it's really not that bad. I'm just gonna reposition this one clamp a little bit. There we go. Beautiful. All right, we'll go back up to the side of the engine and we'll do the secondary fuel filter now. All right, this one's exactly the same, except you don't have to stand on your head in order to get to it. Let's grab those tools from underneath the tractor. Clamps are on. Move the hose clamps out of the way. See, I got smarter this time. I left the 10 mil bolt until the end. That'll help to stabilize that filter a little bit. Over time, the rubber hoses will actually bond quite well to the plastic, so by rocking those back and forth a little bit, just breaks that bond a little bit. There's one. Let's go get that filter. Okay. Bring that spring clamp or whatever, hose clamp back up here. It's nice and square. Get rid of the hose clamp. And get rid of the vice grips. Sorry, everything's a hose clamp today. Fix my protective cover a little bit. Not a big deal. Bring this one back. And then release that one too. Let that filter bracket find its neutral position, and then tighten this 10 mil guy back up. Done. Gotta be happy with that. Now I will just go turn the key on, listen for that pump to start, and we'll check for leaks. Of course, you shouldn't have any leaks on the back side of the pump because all you're getting is head pressure from the tank and suction from the pump. But if there was going to be a leak anywhere from the pump, it would be on this one here. And it looks to be pretty good. I'm going to call that a success. The last thing to do, well, I shouldn't say the last thing because I do want to tighten the alternator belt as well on this thing, but the hydrostatic oil filter underneath. So we're gonna get our drain bucket back and we'll pop that old one off now. You're looking at that right. The 3rd of July, 2020, almost 3 years since I've done that. Should probably be done annually, regardless of hours, but such is life. You shouldn't lose too much out of this because the machine's not running. And here is the new filter. It's got a piece of plastic over the top. I need a screwdriver. I don't mind doing this with the new filter for this, because hydraulic oil should pretty much remain clean at all times. It's not seeing the products of combustion like engine oil. So to me, this oil is clean enough to lubricate a mating surface. Plenty tight. All right, so let's recap. I removed the hood, I removed the shroud, I had to remove my exhaust tip. Thanks, Ross. What else did I do? I had to drain the engine oil, change the engine oil filter, filled the engine oil, changed the air filter element, changed the primary and secondary fuel filters, and changed the hydrostatic oil filter. I'm also going to be tightening the alternator belt on this thing, but I'm going to do that off camera because that's not what this video is about, and it's probably already going to be pretty long. So let's fire this thing up and look for leaks. Gotta be happy with that. How'd you like that little trick? Eh? Who needs a butt in the seat when you got a set of those? Anyways, I guess it's just what's left is to button this thing back up and get it out of the garage. All right, so we got that tractor back together. Let's talk about pricing if you want for a little bit here. So for the oil filter, $14.03. The fuel filters were $13.93 each, 2 of them, so $27.86. The hydraulic oil filter, $22.95. The air filter element, $25.52. And the large jug of oil that I use for this tractor as well as my mini excavator was $71.06. So the total for this machine would be $161.42 for this maintenance, but that's a lot of oil. So I got way more oil than I need for the BX. What did I use for tools? So I used the needle nose vice grips, the standard vice grips, to pinch off those fuel lines a little bit. A couple of 14 mil wrenches to take the bolts out and pivot that bracket out of the way underneath. I used the pliers in order to remove those spring hose clamps off of the fuel lines. Small flathead screwdriver to pick away and release them from the old filters. I've got my way overkill 1/2 inch with the 10 mil socket that I needed to remove that exhaust tip. The 1/2 inch socket here was to take the hood off, and then of course oil filter wrench. Then you know your basics: filter, rubber gloves, shop towels. You saw the tin pie plate in play. I did a little bit of rust check treatment underneath, and now I've got a little bit of cleanup to do. So if you got anything out of that in any way, shape, or form, if you enjoyed hanging out, please consider subscribing. It goes a long way towards helping my channel grow. It lets YouTube know that you're the kind of viewer that might like this kind of content, and then they can show my content to other people as well. Thanks a lot for tuning in. We'll see you in the next one. Wait, hold the phone. There's more. I just gave it a bath. And you probably already know what I forgot to do. I forgot to check the hydrostatic oil level in the tractor. So I did. It was low. I added some. We're good to go. See you in the next one.